Crowds, queues and heavy shopping bags are just a few of the reasons that more and more of us than ever before now do our weekly shopping online. It's a hassle-free alternative with the emphasis very firmly on convenience. So it's presumably not unreasonable that such a service may somewhere along the line have some sort of cost attached to it, typically, for example, for delivery. But in recent months, we've come across a number of people all unhappy about the same thing. And that is a big change in the policy of one major supermarket that means that its online shopping now has more of a cost, one that quite a few of you feel makes it much less attractive as an option. Nearly a third of all UK households now shop for their groceries on the internet. And collectively we spend an average of £8.9 billion doing that every year. Wherever you live, it's very easy to see the appeal of being able to do your shopping online and then having it delivered straight to your door. You don't have to worry about traffic, about battling through crowds, and of course, best of all, it actually gets carried straight into the house. Now, an awful lot of people reckon that that convenience is worth paying just a little bit extra for. But for others, it's not convenience at all. It's a practical necessity. 64-year-old Dave Rowsome from Winchester has relied heavily on his weekly online shop from Tesco. Dave was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma over 30 years ago. Dave,
hello. Come
there we go. And the condition has had a lasting impact on his health and mobility.
I get tired very easy, which is the main problem. I do have a back problem, which I tend to use a stick. I don't need to, but it does take the pressure off the back and the pain.
How convenient has it been to have your shopping delivered here?
Very convenient. It saves me time, it saves me petrol money, and also I can think more about what I'm ordering. I think it's a great service.
Or at least he did, until a change in Tesco's policy led him to write to us. The store's online shopping service used to have a minimum spend of £25, a comfortable amount for Dave to spend. Any less than that and you'd incur a £4 surcharge. But in July 2015, Tesco started applying that £4 surcharge to shopping that came to less than £40, leaving Dave and others like him with a stark choice. Pay an extra £4 with no more groceries to show for it, or, to avoid the surcharge, spend an extra £15 a week on food he simply doesn't need.
I don't get angry very easy, but I think I was angry. Not just for myself. There are a lot of people out there who are less fit than me, older than me, who it will hit more, who don't spend £40 a week on shopping by any means.
Was £40 more than you would ever consider spending in a week?
That's quite a chunk out of my income.
It's another £15 every time.
Yeah, I'm just on state pension. And that is quite a considerable sum. I could, if required, arrange it so that I only had it every 2 weeks. But then you've got things like the fresh produce. They're not going to last me 2 weeks without going off.
Dave hasn't got the freezer space for the surplus food that he'd need to buy to escape the surcharge. But in any case, for him, it's not about storage, but affordability. So what did you decide to do when you thought, no, I can't afford that extra £15 a week?
I decided that while I'm not boycotting Tesco, I now do any online shopping that I want to do with Asda.
But that seems likely to be a short-term solution. Though Asda currently has a minimum spend of £25, it's trialling a scheme to increase that to £40 in some areas. Shopping baskets below this minimum amount wouldn't be eligible for delivery at all. And when we checked the policies of the other supermarkets, it was clear that the change in Tesco's policy, without which the store has said its online service would just not be viable, is simply bringing it into line with its rivals. Already Morrison's won't deliver if your shopping costs less than £40. And although Sainsbury's will, you may have to pay a higher delivery charge. Meanwhile, Waitrose has a minimum online spend of £60. Beneath that, it too won't deliver. 200 miles away from Dave in Pembrokeshire lives 30-year-old Jessica, who's another person to contact us on the same point. She has cerebral palsy and finds online shopping deliveries are vital.
Sometimes even simplest of activities like going shopping can actually be quite hard work. The supermarket delivery service means that I can have my food effectively delivered to my front door.
Before Tesco introduced its £4 surcharge on shopping under £40, Jessica used to make a couple of orders each week to avoid problems of trying to pick up fresh produce in store.
Having the shopping delivered to the front door, you haven't got to worry, oh, what if I go somewhere and I can't reach the items I want on the shelves, or I can't pick up half of the items that I want to put in the trolley because they can be quite heavy.
But now that Tesco's minimum spend has gone up to £40, Jessica only uses the online service every 2 to 3 weeks, which means in between, at least twice a week, she makes the trip to her local convenience store to pick up all her fresh foods, and that can be difficult.
If I've got to ask for help with reaching something or picking up an item that I want to buy, it can be a bit embarrassing because I'm one of these people, I like to focus on what I can do rather than what I cannot do. I would much rather just find a way of doing it myself, and for me that is generally getting it delivered online because it takes that hassle away. Thank you very much. How are you? No, I've got a bag actually.
As with Dave, for Jessica, this is about more than convenience. She'd find it hard to justify paying the extra £4 that her shop will cost under Tesco's new rules.
I've recently been made redundant from working full-time. I do have to be more conscious of what I'm spending and where I'm spending it, because if I was to blow my whole week's benefit on food, I then perhaps wouldn't have money to pay the bills.
Disability charity Scope has concerns that people like Jessica are being priced out of a service that they really need.
Disabled people are more likely than non-disabled people to do their shopping online, and very often that's out of necessity rather than desire, because local shops might not be accessible to them. What this increase might mean is that they won't be able to do that weekly shop online.
But you can understand the supermarket's position as well. The cost of running an online shopping service really adds up, with many making losses as a result.
The big four retailers aren't making huge profits from online because there are massive costs associated with running these businesses. You have to have distribution centres, and you have to have a lot of picking in stores. And then you have to have somebody driving delivery lorries and delivery vans, and half the time those delivery vans are empty, of course, because they're going back to the depot. So all those costs have to be borne, and as a result, it's very difficult to make a profit in this area. If it's costing between £15 and £25 to pick an order, somebody who purchases £30 of product is not a valuable customer to the retailer, and as a consequence, what retailers are doing are having to increase the minimum spend to cover those costs.
All of which makes perfect business sense. But when the average cost of a weekly shop for a single person under retirement age is around £30 a week, minimum spends of £40 or more do raise the question of whether online shopping is becoming less practical for some of the people who might most benefit from using it. When we asked the supermarkets if they felt that their online shopping charges meet the needs of more vulnerable customers, they were keen to stress that there are ways of keeping the costs down. Morrisons, Sainsbury's and Asda each told us that their charges start at as little as £1, depending on the time and the day. And regular customers can reduce costs further through buying their delivery pass. And while it's not quite as convenient as home delivery, some stores also pointed out that there's a lower minimum spend if you use their click and collect service. Waitrose didn't comment directly on costs, but said it's continually looking at ways of responding to the needs of customers, highlighting a scheme to raise the alarm if an elderly or vulnerable person doesn't always answer the door. And when we spoke to Tesco about Dave and Jessica's case, it told us that it had to introduce a minimum basket spend, or it simply wouldn't be able to provide a long-term sustainable online grocery shopping service. Tesco said that it had a range of offers to make online shopping cheaper, including its Delivery Saver scheme, which the supermarket said had proved popular. But whatever the delivery price, that minimum £40 spend remains an issue for Jessica, who's frustrated that it limits how often she uses a service that makes shopping so much easier for her.
I don't mind asking for help, but I'm so independent that I want to be able to manage it myself. So being able just to click a few buttons and say I want this just gives me that independence. There's enough times in your life that you have to admit defeat and say that you need help with stuff, and being able to say that you can do your shopping independently is just really good.